Their 60 today?
So for our community outreach project, we wanted to do water quality, specifically in our community. So we went out into the Clarkson Independence, and we actually, you can see the map, the Clarkson Independence waterways, and we did some sampling. We also did some sampling at a little reserve, some easement, and we had 7 sites in that easement. That's going to be right up here where we've tested all.
That's the NOHLC property that they allowed us to sample from the waterways on there. In that circle right there, this is a blown up picture of the whole area that we were sampling from. So we went to 7 sites on that area, and then we sampled from major lakes. We sampled from Deer Lake, Macy Day Lake, and Pontiac Lake.
And then we also did a channel. We did a channel between Middle Lake and the Dollar Lake because it goes from directly into Deer Lake and it flows directly into the Middle Lake and then Dollar Lake. So we wanted to see that flow and we wanted to try to see the connections between the waterways. And so, okay, if this one lake is infected and it's contaminated, how does that affect all of the lakes connected to it?
That was right here. This is Deer Lake, and then Middle Lake, and which one was that? Dollar Lake. And so our school is like somewhere right around here. So we did testing right there, and some of those lakes. And then we also did Pontiac Lake. That one. How are our results on Pontiac Lake?
Results in Pontiac
I
Lake.
think Pontiac Lake.
I think I
Pontiac
handed her
Lake was,
Here are the sheets.
Oh, no, she's got it.
so Pontiac Lake had good map on here.
Yeah, I did have a lot of really good memories.
So its organism diversity was very high, which we like to see in most ecosystems.
But, do you want to do this one?
Yeah, so in our community and the Clarkson Independence area is surrounded by bodies of water, so there's a lot of lakes and streams just absolutely everywhere in the Clarkson Independence area. So we feel that our community isn't really all that aware of our impact that we have on our waterways. I know that just recently by my house, they cleared down, I think it was almost 10 acres of this beautiful woods. And it's right by Deer Lake, and you know, all of that runoff now is going, because it's going to be all the cement and all of these roads, and it's all going to be going straight into Deer Lake. So what's going to happen then? And I don't think our community really is all that aware of, okay, what is, we as humans, what is our impact? And since it is all surrounding us, our lakes are a huge pride, I think, in our community. We like to go swimming, we like to go down to the beach, and if our water isn't up to date and clean, I think we need to make our community aware of that and aware of our impacts and what we do as humans and how, I guess
How we
I'm becoming
affect
a little
our
bit
lives.
repetitive. But what are we doing wrong? Things in our community can vary quite a bit. A new housing structure, which I just mentioned, it could be built, which all of the runoff would then go into the lakes. Fertilizer for garden is a huge one. So people that live by the lakes, they like to leave their gardens all nice and pretty, like to have a bunch of flowers, but all of that fertilizer infiltrates into the ground and it goes straight into our waterways. Even if it's not in the surface water, it goes into the groundwater and then it'll go straight into the surface water, which is going to be all of the lakes we're going to be swimming in and playing in and fishing in, and the waters in our community. So, whoever's next. Thanks, Campbell.
Well, that's the environmental impact. So with all these freshwater sources that we have in our area, it's not only like people that rely on having clean lakes, it's the animals and plants and everything that lives in that ecosystem, basically. And so when you pollute these smaller ponds, like these sites that we tested in the wetlands, it will ultimately just contaminate all the surrounding lakes because of runoff and other things.
There was a site that was actually right next to an old horse barn, and they had a little slide for all of the manure that they would actually just send down into these waterways. And when we went and tested them, you could see that it did have a significant impact. Like, and the water smelled too. It was not, it was not fun. But all of these things will have an impact impact any of the surrounding waterways.
You can tell, oh, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, the worst part is that it had been years since the horses had been there.
Yeah, 5
But you
years.
could still tell that there had been horses there from the smell, how the plants were growing. The plants were almost overrunning the place there.
There's a significant difference. There is a lot of duckweed in the area where the manure was running off into the water in comparison to just water just a few feet away. And it looked more natural looking. It was just a massive layer of duckweed sprouting up through the water. And so some related issues to this would socially, citizens could be affected health-wise. Kids who play in this water could get infections from the water, or they could
Swimmers are just a huge one.
yeah, and the fish that you eat also from this water, if you were to eat any fish that could have diseases from us putting chemicals into the water and stuff. And also in some cases, this is even drinking water for some people. And then economically, we use water for almost everything economically. We use it just to create our products, to clean things, and so so it can affect businesses if the water quality is bad, and vice versa, if they put runoff or any chemicals into the water, they won't have
more expensive for them to fix all of
Yeah.
their water. I know that in Troy hockey rink, the water was contaminated. No one was allowed to drink out of any of the water fountains, any of the sinks, and there was nothing. So I mean, when it comes down to an economical standpoint, you either got to prevent it or you're going to be paying to try to fix it. So it's more of a prevention thing than rather having to spend thousands and thousands of dollars trying to soften our water, trying to clean our water, and trying to just get it to be drinkable. So
Sarah, may I add something too? With the socially and how it can affect our children, when I was younger in middle school, right before I had gotten in there, I had actually gotten a really nasty infection. It started in my chest and went into my knee. That's what this scar is. It had settled in my knee and had caused my knee to swell up pretty severely, and the infection had gotten into my bone. So the fact that I am perfectly fine right now is completely and utterly awesome, but that just shows the danger. I have experienced the danger of horrible water quality.
yeah, unsafe drinking water.
And politically, it's just this can cause conflict within the community, and the state would have to pay for any damages that have been done to people due to bad water quality, and businesses would have to pay for that. It can just cause conflict if the water quality is affected drastically due to human interaction with the environment. And that it causes money to be spent.
Money that we didn't need to spend that we could have prevented.
Yeah. And why it's so important to the community is because we have so many waterways within the Clarkston community, and people use it recreationally and also health on a daily basis for showering, drinking water, cooking, washing clothes, and they let their kids swim in this water. And you eat the fish from this water. And then also there's animals that are affected from this. Macroinvertebrates that live in this water, they depend on these waterways just to survive. So if that's affected, then they won't have a place to live, and that can affect the ecosystem and the balance of the food chain as well.
Okay, yeah, and then for the groups affected, we have not only the people living on the lake, like she said, all that runoff, it's running into Deer Lake
Time,
here.
I'm sorry,
What was that?
it's 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so we did it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. It's okay. Thank you very much.
Actually, that was the last one.
You guys can still talk. Just-
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
And then, so we have our runoff here, and then that's gonna affect all the people living here, everywhere that's connected to this one lake, and that's why we decided to test that channel right here.
And I know you can't see it, but I've taken kayaks. You can go all the way from Deer Lake to Macy Day Lake. There are channels there. I know you can't really see it on the map, but I've done it before. That it is all connected, even if you can't see it on the map. There's always going to be a stream or some kind of river that's going to connect some waterways.
And it's also not just the lakes and streams, it can also like ultimately leach into the groundwater, which is what people use.
To drink.
Yeah, to drink, which, I mean, a lot of it nowadays is like filtered, but some of it is not. Some of it's not filtered enough to be, when it's polluted that badly.
Yeah, and that goes back to the economical standpoint. I mean, do we really want to pay even more for higher quality filters to filter our water when we can just try to make our water a little bit cleaner in the first place? So really quick, I wanted to explain these. So to make it a little bit easier, we wanted to almost highlight in green where we wanted it. So for our pH, for dissolved oxygen, nitrates, phosphates, we wanted to show you guys, we wanted to show you guys the areas that we wanted it to be, so you guys know the ranges that we're looking for, and that would make it good water quality or rather bad water quality, so hence the red and the green. So I just did that to try to show you guys. Yeah, I think we're done. Unless you want. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we had a whole list of all the sites that we did with macroinvertebrates and the chemicals that we found in the water and stuff. Based off of the time periods and like how, because we were testing for macroinvertebrates pretty early in the year and stuff, so we didn't really find as many as we were looking forward to seeing and stuff. And also letting them sit out for a couple days did affect our results.
Yeah, we had to
But-
do them at school like over a weekend, because we
Yeah.
got back on a Friday.
So
and
it didn't
had
really
no
give
time.
us very accurate results on the,
Macroinvertebrates.
yeah, on the
But
macroinvertebrates.
for the water testing, especially with the phosphates and the nitrates, so we were pretty accurate.
What time of year did you guys go out?
Just this past month.
That's a good time of year to go.
Yeah,
It was a little bit cold, but.
it was cold. Yeah, just
Yeah.
but it was perfect to catch slower macroinvertebrates who were hiding in all the weeds.
Yeah.
What did we
Did
catch?
you-
What kind of fish did we catch, Kendall?
Oh, we caught a sculpin actually.
And
Really? Catch a
I
sculpin.
had ended up finding a tadpole about this size, so had just recently hatched.
Yeah.
Yeah, and surprisingly, I guessing the water was just that good for him or something. I had scooped him out, put him in his normal water so he didn't get harmed at all. But then I was unable to be there on Friday. So we had actually gone about 3 days in a small half-filled cup. And he survived. He was completely fine, completely healthy, had doubled his size. So I don't know if that says anything about the water
It would
quality.
probably say about the dissolved oxygen, it would have more dissolved oxygen if it was
Yeah.
able to live in there.
So I see that you guys got some of these forms from Clinton River Watershed Council. Did they work with you guys on this project?
Well, we worked with them earlier at the beginning of this year, but we mainly worked with, NO.
NOHLC.
The North Oakland Headwaters Land Conservancy.
Yes.
Thank you.
But those were sheets that we actually got earlier this year, so when we do like the water testing, those are just the sheets that we would fill out to go and.
Yeah, give us a basis of what we were looking for with the macroinvertebrates and something to mark it down on.
Did you see any correlation between the, like you were saying, the dissolved oxygen and pH versus the macros that you found? Or how?
Well, since there
Fair
are
or
some
excellent?
human error in the macroinvertebrates, and we did have a lot of them die since there was over the weekend, for some of them, yes, there was a great correlation, but we believe that since there is human error and over time that you might see some different results and they don't really correlate, and we believe that that's just due to human error because almost all the time they correlate with how well, and the more dissolved oxygen you're going to have, the more macros you're going to have, and hopefully the less nitrates and phosphates, depending on the water quality.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yep, thank you.
Do you want us to take these back from you or? Sure.